All signs point to the Calgary Flames taking a real run at acquiring young center Marco Rossi of the Minnesota Wild. As NHL Insider Pierre Lebrun has reported, the Flames are among the favorites to target the Swiss star, so what could a move for him look like? We're going to get into all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and let's hop straight in and talk about this major report from Pierre. Summer of Pierre. Remember that with Pierre Dorian. We used to have Pierre Maguire, but no, the Pierre I'm obviously talking about here is Pierre Lebrun from The Athletic. So here is his latest article that came out yesterday on June 11th. So he writes, NHL rumblings, latest on Kreider, who was officially traded to Anaheim today. Strange trade for both teams, but also good trade for both teams. Weird. Marchand, don't care about that. Tavares, don't care about that. Pettersson, don't care about that. But more, that's what we care about as the summer market heats up. Yes, the Stanley Cup Finals are almost over, which means it's almost the offseason for absolutely everyone, so the summer market is heating up. And what do we care about? Well, we care about Marco Rossi, and this was where Pierre Lebrun name-dropped the Flames. So he said the Calgary Flames, the Canucks, and the Canadiens, 3 Canadian teams, are among the Canadian teams. Oh, there you go. I went a little too early there, forgive me. Are among the Canadian teams looking for a young number 2 center, but I would say among these 3, the Canucks have the most interest in wild center Marco Rossi. So there we go. Among the favorites of the Canadian teams here, but the Canucks might be the favorite of them all. He does say the Flames have mild interest. They would rather get a center with more size, as I believe Rossi is 5'9", so a little smaller. And I don't think the Habs are on that very much at all. So who the heck cares about them anyway? But looks like the Canucks might make a real run at Rossi, but the Flames are in there too, and you know Conroy is poking his fingers in there a little bit. Maybe he's even poking his toes in there a little bit, dipping his toes in the water to see if there's some sort of deal that could happen with Marco Rossi coming to Calgary. Now, the 5'9", there you go, there's his height pivot, is set to become a restricted free agent July 1st. So obviously not a UFA, so you'd either have to offer sheet or trade. Now, Rossi established himself as an NHL regular in 2023-24 when he totaled 21 goals and 40 points and finished 6th in Calder Trophy voting. Minnesota drafted him 9th overall way back in 2020. So it was a couple seasons ago when he became an everyday NHLer. The Canucks and Flames are looking to add a young second-line center, and the 23-year-old Rossi fits the mold after his breakout campaign, Lebrun adds. Wild GM Bill Guerin confirmed earlier in June he's received calls about Rossi. Evolving Hockey projects Rossi to sign a 2-year bridge contract with a $4.7 million cap hit, so that's quite key, or for a $7.7 million annually on a maximum 8-year extension. Now, obviously, the bridge deal is way cheaper, so if you were to offer sheet, I think Minnesota's matching no matter what. But on that bigger one, that's where an offer sheet could come into play. So now that we know that the Flames are probably interested in Rossi, and Rossi's most likely on the chopping block here, let's get into what this move could look like. What a move for Rossi coming to Calgary could look like essentially here. Now, there are a couple ways, and here's another article from The Athletic, actually. So it's what we're hearing about a Marco Rossi trade, potential destinations, and a return. So what we care about is obviously what the trade could look like, what the return, what we would have to give up for Rossi, and of course the destination, I mean, we know would be the Calgary Flames. So here we go. Former Flames beat writer Julian MacKenzie said that the Flames finished 29th in goals for and 30th in goals at 5-on-5 last year. So yeah, they could use some scoring anywhere they can get it. This is already on top of their need for talent, particularly from young players between the ages of 18 and 23. Rossi checks off those boxes. He is at the older end of that, but still young. Calgary would also love his versatility at center and wing. Yes, it almost seems like none of our centers are bona fide centers. I mean, I know Kadri is, I know Backlund is, but for the most part, it seems like we like spreading our guys all over the place. Pause, big time, but it seems like they could play any position essentially. Now, the Flames do have prospects and draft picks they can offer in return. If the Wild covet a roster player more, a pick or prospect can work as a sweetener. So if they want any of our roster players, most could be up for grabs. Now, I'd be fascinated to know who on the Flames the Wild would covet. Sharangovich seems like an obvious trade candidate to me, but he's coming off a down year and might not fit the bill I don't know why the Wild would want to trade for Sharky. Kadri and Andersson would be fascinating trade pieces to ponder, but Kadri has a no move while the Flames still have to decide on Andersson's future. I also think Minnesota is pretty well locked up for the future in their decor, especially on the right side. I don't know if they'd want to look at Andersson in a trade. Kadri could be interesting, but I don't know. What would a trade involving Kadri and Rossi look like? That's a very interesting. Feel free to drop a trade proposal down below. That one is honestly very, very interesting. Now, if we get into what a potential offer sheet structure and the draft loss would look like if we were to go after Rossi. So depending on Rossi's targeted AAV, compensation to the Wild would look like this. So what we're kind of hearing is it could be 7.7 mil would be kind of the price to maybe pay. Would Minnesota match that? I'm not too sure, but that falls into that third category there where the Flames would have to give up a first, a second, and a third round pick. That is a lot to give up for someone who doesn't exactly fit what we're looking for. Now, more affordable would be if, let's just say it's 7 years by 7 mil. Then it goes into that second bracket there where it's a first and a third, which is still quite expensive. I know we have multiple first round picks, and this would have to be our first round pick going, and who knows what the heck the Flames are going to do next year, if they'll be competitive or not. But still, it is a lot to give up. So the most likely scenario, according to the win column here, is 5 to 7 AAV bridge deal, meaning the first and third. But again, if it's just a bridge deal, I feel like Minnesota would want to match it. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what Guerin's thinking and the rest of the Wild, but either way, the Flames would have to give up a first and at least a first and third if they go after Rossi, which is a lot to give up. I don't know. Maybe we'd want to draft a center that more fits our age and size in a way, but it could be interesting to take the offer sheet route here. Now, the pros and cons for Calgary if they do this. The pros, it's an immediate gap injection at second line center. He would fit in seamlessly, it'd be perfect. They could also capitalize on the Wild's negotiation stall. There have been issues between Rossi's camp at least, and Minnesota Wild. So the potential to land a 60-point player at a sub-market cost. There's the potential for that. It's not for sure that this would happen, but it could be a pro if it were to come to fruition. Now the cons is that you burn a valuable 2026 first-round pick and a third and potentially a second. That's the biggest con. That's the biggest point here if you ask me. Another con, there's a high chance Minnesota does match, leaving the Flames with no gain whatsoever. It's not the huge con because it just means we didn't do anything really, but yeah, Minnesota can always match. And then if unmatched, you do have to commit to at least a somewhat expensive player for quite a while who is a little bit smaller, which is not what the Flames are looking for. So that's kind of the way an offer sheet could work. I also had to look around and see a potential trade proposal, and this one was interesting. So the Flames would receive Marco Rossi, at least his RFA rights, so likely on that deal that we saw before. To Minnesota, this was crazy to me. So Connor Zary, a second-round pick, and a first-round pick. This makes no sense to me. Just take the offer sheet route because Zary and Rossi's numbers are actually more similar than you would think. Rossi probably is the more, scorer. Zary might be more complete but has the injury issues. But if you're giving up Zary a second and a first, what's the point? Just give up the first and the second and the third, and it's probably less expensive than this. So there is the potential for that to happen. Again, this is just a proposal. In no way do I think a real trade would look like that, but you obviously never know. What's the trade rationale here? Why would Calgary do this? Well, they get that young playmaking center with a proven NHL upside, as he did hit 55 to 60 points last year. The Flames also need a cost-controlled core and have cap space to sign him. They do have a lot of cap space. I don't think that number is accurate to right now. I'm pretty sure the Flames have quite a bit less. This isn't as updated, but we still do have a lot of cap space. Now, Marco Rossi can slot in as their 2C behind Nazem Kadri or even 1C depending on the direction. So true. The Flames switch around their lines every single period, it seems anyway. So he could be 1C to 4C. They deal from strength, so Zary is a good asset, but not untouchable. That's extremely true. Zary honestly could be traded. It would probably, I think, more fans would want to see him signed. Depends on what the contract looks like. We've talked about that a million times as well. But overall, I think I prefer the offer sheet route, at least compared to this kind of trade. But if we can get a roster player involved that isn't, one of our younger guys, I'd actually be down for Zary too, but that better take a pick away from it. And maybe we can throw in a prospect. We have a bunch of, young D-men. Maybe one of them would be more so the trade that I would propose anyway. But again, Minnesota might not need defensemen. But overall, it is interesting that the Flames have once again been linked to Rossi. And it is, I would say he's not the ideal person for the Flames to, try to acquire, but he's definitely up there on the list of people we could acquire. He would fit in better, as we do need centers more than anything else. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. It comes from yesterday's video, of course, about the Adam Kalapka signing, as he re-signed in Calgary, of course. And Lawrence here said, can hardly wait to see what the big guy has to offer next season. Feel he could offer us 20 goals, especially if offered some power play minutes. Love the physicality he brings along with his hockey IQ. He really is a great player. Every player has their flaws. He can work upon that, but he is really good, and this looks like it's a very affordable contract overall. So fantastic. Who knows? He could explode in these next 2 years. He has the potential. So it's super exciting that we get to see Clapper play for at least another couple of years in Calgary. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.